Thank you, Chairman. Assistant Secretary Leaf, I'd like to begin with the Iran-Saudi Arabia agreement. Surprised, I think all of us, that it took place the way it did, brokered by China. I think where China can play a constructive role, and I believe this is the position of the administration. Certainly, I've heard as much, I think, from the spokesperson at the State Department that we want to encourage China to do positive things as opposed to negative things around the world. I also am hopeful that this agreement moving forward will continue to reduce tensions in the region. I think that's the hope and a hope that's been articulated by the Secretary as well. I'm going to ask you about how we measure progress towards monitoring, whether or not this agreement's effective moving forward and how the agreement's altered our diplomatic posture. Before I get into those matters, let's step back. What made the role of China amenable to both parties?
Thanks very much for that question, Senator. It's a fascinating one, and it's one that, as you say, the revelation on March 10th of this détente, and that's what I would really define this as. It's a détente. It's not a reconciliation, a big rapprochement, or a full normalization, but it did surprise a lot of people. It did not entirely surprise us because we have been in a constant dialogue with the Saudis over the course of 2 years, supporting them in their quest to find some modus vivendi to get, using one tool, diplomatic engagement, not putting down all the other harder tools that we use bilaterally or collectively, but one tool, direct engagement with Tehran to try to get a mitigation of the national security threats that Iran has posed directly and through its proxies, principally through the Houthi, but not only, with direct attacks on Saudi soil. More recently, so this has been an effort that has been ongoing through the good offices of the government of Iraq and the government of Oman. Saudi Arabia was consistently frustrated in its quest to get the Iranians to acknowledge their role in destabilizing Yemen and in essentially training and equipping with lethal support the Houthis in such a way that they could just launch at will complex attacks on Saudi soil. More recently, the Saudis were really determined since last fall to use a bilateral channel that they had opened up to drive to an end of their engagement in the Yemen conflict, and indeed to drive to an end of the conflict itself. They did not want the Iranians to scupper that. So this agreement, I would stipulate, was not brokered by the Chinese, they hosted it. The Iranians and the Saudis did all of the agreements and the discussions themselves. What do they want out of it? It's, in the first instance, as I say, focused on Yemen. How will we help them measure it? Partly through the work that we do every day on the high seas, which is interdicting and monitoring, and not just monitoring, but interdicting flows of weaponry. But it is a détente that the Saudis drove for a wider calm in the region so that they could pursue their socioeconomic modernization project.
Well, you know how it looks.
Yes, I do.
It looks like we've diplomatically overplayed our hand vis-a-vis the Saudis and pressing them to come into positions of better behavior on various fronts, like human rights, and they're hedging their geopolitical bets. They're extending an arm of, if not friendship, certainly partnership with the Chinese. And that's the perception. So diplomatically, beyond the hope that this reduces tensions moving forward, and it is a hope that I and others harbor, it seems as though diplomatically it's a bit of it's a hit, so to speak. But I'll let you respond to that reflection.
Sure, Senator. The Chinese obviously have established a relationship with Iran that the U.S. does not have. And so in a sense, the Chinese are on a hook to help police Iranian actions. That's also the way many people saw it in the region, and what the Saudis, frankly, hope out of it. I would say the Saudis are very clear-eyed about the prospects for getting a sudden change in Iranian behavior, a change that would alter 4 decades of their behavior in the region. But they want to get at it through one tool. And they want a general calming in the region. That is to everybody's good. They did not go into this because we pressured them. This was a sovereign decision on their own.
Just very briefly, because I've got other colleagues who want to ask questions. How is this, in your mind, altered and how will it alter our diplomatic posture of the department in the region?
It won't. It doesn't alter our posture. I mean, this is a détente agreement that may have a relaxing effect on the region, maybe short-lived. It does not alter our own very robust engagement with all of our Gulf partners, including the Saudis.
Senator Cardin.